Welcome to Rambam in Depth. Today we're going to be discussing the Rambam Hilchos Shchirus, Perik Aleph, and Halacha Daled, and the topic is one Shomer giving the thing that he is supposed to be guarding to another Shomer. The Rambam writes as follows: Ein ha-seicher r'shoy lahaskir. A seicher, someone who rents something, cannot rent it to someone else. Why? Because this person, the owner, could say, I don't want that my pekadon, that which is my property, should be in someone else's hands. Then the Rambam continues that if he did so, the Shomer gave it over to another Shomer. So then it depends. If there are witnesses that the second guard guarded it properly and there was something uncontrollable that happened, then the first guard is poter. First Shomer is poter because it's not his fault. There are witnesses that something happened that he couldn't control. But if there were no witnesses, the first Shomer has to pay to the owner because he gave it over to another Shomer. And then the Rambam says that even if the first person was a Shomer Chinam and he gave it to a Shomer Sachar, which is a higher level of guardian, he's still chayiv, he's still liable, because the owner of the object could say to the first Shomer, Atanem etzli lihishava, you I trust to give an oath, but this other guy I don't trust, therefore you have to pay. Now in the Gemara in Bava Metzia Daf Lamed Vav, there's a dispute between Abaye and Rava. What's the reason Shomer Shemasel Shomer Chayiv, that one Shomer gives it to another one, he's liable? According to Abaye, the reason is I don't want to have my pekadon, my property, in someone else's hands. You had no right to give it to the other person. Rava, and Daf Lamed Vav Amud Beis, gives a different reason. He says, you I believe with a shvuah. The other one I don't believe with a shvuah. So it's strange over here that the Rambam mentions both reasons. Which is the halacha? Do we follow Abaye that it's because of ein ritzayni sheyeh pekdayin b'yad acher, or do we follow Rava that you I believe with a shvuah and you I don't believe with a shvuah? So the Lechem Mishnah explains that the Rambam is bringing both reasons because the reason that I don't want my pekadon to be in someone else's hands, that means that you're not allowed to give it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you are liable, that you have to pay for it if you did give it over to someone else and something happened to it. Then the Rambam therefore says that the real reason why you're liable is because you I believe with an oath and you I don't believe with an oath. So it seems from here that the main reason why you're liable is like Rava. I don't believe the other guy with an oath. I believe you, but not the other guy. Therefore, the other guy's oath is worthless. Therefore, you owe me. You have to pay me. And you can go to the other guy to get reimbursed. So the Rambam, according to Lechem Mishnah, rules according to Rava. The problem is, in Hilchos Shailu Pekadon, Perik Dal Halacha Ches, the Rambam writes, Im masra le'acher harezeh pesheya v'chayev l'shalim. That if you gave it over to someone else, you are pesheya, you're negligent, and you have to pay. The fact that he says you're negligent means that you did something wrong by giving it over to someone else. That's the logic behind Ein Ritzayni Sheyeh Pekdayin B'yad Acher. I don't trust the other person who's going to be good enough to guard it. Therefore, you're a pesheya, you're negligent. So it seems that the Rambam contradicts himself. Does the Rambam here, he considers the main reason for the chiyuv. The reason for the chiyuv is because you I believe with a shvuah, him I don't believe. And the ein ritzayni sheyeh pekdaini is only a reason why you're not allowed to do it, because he could say I don't want my object to be in someone else's hands, but that's not the reason why you're liable. And yet in Hilchos Shel Pekadon, it seems from the Rambam that it's because of your negligence. So one way of answering it, and it's based on a lot of other things, is that the Rambam really holds that the reason is Ein Ritzayni Sheyeh Pekdaini B'yad Acher. I don't want my pekadon to be in someone else's hands. But the Rambam over here is explaining why you are pesheya. Why are you a pesheya? Why are you considered negligent? Because the other guy, I don't believe, with a shvuah, and therefore that justifies why I could claim your payment, because that proved that it was a bad idea to have my thing in someone else's hands, because if it would lead to a case where there's a need for a shvuah, I don't trust the person with a shvuah. In other words, there's really one reason here, according to this. The reason is, ein ritzani she'eh b'kedayna b'yad acher. But in order to justify why that's a legitimate reason, why it's considered to be negligent, the reason is because I don't trust the other one with a shvuah. And since I don't trust him with a shvuah, I'm going to come out losing. And therefore you were negligent by giving it to him. That is an explanation on the negligence.